I froze in the doorway, unable to move as my reflection shifted before my eyes. This wasn't me, at least not the me I recognized. My hair fell in soft waves that caught the morning light, brushing perfectly against my shoulders. My face. It was smoother, gentler, with a subtle glow that made my own eyes widen in disbelief. A laugh floated from the hallway. My sister stood there, leaning casually against the wall, an expression I couldn't read, part triumph, part mischief. "You're finally seeing it," she said, tilting her head. "The real version. The one I always knew you could be, if I helped." "Helped?" I asked, my voice tight, unsteady. "What did you?" She stepped forward, holding a small, sparkling vial that shimmered like liquid starlight. "I just gave you a little push," she said almost sweetly. "Don't be scared. You'll get used to it." I stumbled back, gripping the edge of the bathroom counter, my pulse hammering. Everything felt different. The weight of my body, the sway in my step, even the sound of my own voice when I tried to call her name, came out lighter, melodic, and I barely recognized it. "Why?" I managed to whisper. The question felt meaningless in the face of what had just happened. My features, my body had shifted subtly, perfectly, almost unnaturally. Cheeks rounded, jaw softened, hands delicate. I touched my face, my neck, my arms. Every sensation was alien, yet alarmingly intimate. She smiled, a mix of pride and envy in her gaze. "You've always had what everyone admires," she said softly. "I just enhanced it, turned you into what I've been dreaming of, my perfect creation." A shiver ran down my spine as I realized the truth. She hadn't just changed my looks. She'd altered the way I moved, the way I sounded, the way I existed in space. I was no longer fully myself, I was hers. Panic collided with an unexpected spark of curiosity. The way my clothes hugged my new curves, the subtle sway when I shifted, even the way my reflection seemed to smile back at me. It was unnerving. And yet I couldn't look away. "Relax," she said, stepping closer. "You're going to enjoy this, eventually." I sank to the floor, heart pounding, mind spinning. Every inch of me had been reshaped, polished, transformed. My sister's jealousy, her obsession, had made me something I couldn't fight against. Something dangerously alluring, something impossibly perfect. And in that moment I knew my life as I knew it had ended. The next morning, everything felt heavier. My body moved differently, as if every muscle remembered a shape it had never had before. Walking down the stairs, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror and nearly froze. My sister had not just changed me overnight, she had redesigned me from head to toe. My clothes fit strangely, hugging curves I didn't know existed. Even my shoes felt foreign. Breakfast was a battlefield. My mom, unsuspecting, chatted about her plans for the day while I sat there, trying to focus on the cereal in front of me instead of the way the sunlight made my hair glow unnaturally. My hands trembled slightly as I held the spoon. Every glance from my sister was a challenge, a silent, "Look at me now," smirk that made my stomach twist. "Are you okay?" Mom asked, frowning. I forced a nod, my voice soft and higher than usual. It wasn't just the physical changes. I could feel an undercurrent of attention in every corner of the house. My sister moved with a lightness I envied, watching me squirm with quiet amusement. By the time I reached school, the world felt different. I walked into the hallway and the stares began almost immediately. I wasn't sure if it was the way my hair fell perfectly or the subtle tilt of my shoulders, but whispers followed me like shadows. Friends I had known for years now looked at me with curiosity, surprise, and something else. Admiration? Confusion? Maybe both. "Whoa, you look, wow," one friend whispered as I passed. I mumbled a reply, but my voice betrayed me. Lighter, gentler, completely unlike my old self. Panic bubbled up, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. How was I supposed to explain this? How could I even begin to hide what had happened? Lunchtime was worse. Sitting at the usual table, I felt every eye on me. My gestures, once casual, now seemed exaggerated. I crossed my legs and immediately felt the weight of attention, every whisper amplified. My friends leaned in, asking questions I couldn't answer. I could feel my sister's presence in my mind, a silent echo reminding me that this was her doing and she was watching me struggle. Even the simplest interactions became minefields. A teacher complimented my appearance, making my face burn, while classmates lingered nearby, curiosity dancing in their eyes. Every comment, every look reminded me of the new body I now inhabited. A body sculpted to perfection by my sister's envy, leaving me both terrified and oddly fascinated. At home, the tension didn't ease. Every glance in the mirror was a test of control. My sister would casually stroll past, whispering suggestions about my posture, my voice, even my expressions. "You look better when you smile like that," she said one evening, tilting my chin up with unnerving precision. The line between guidance and control blurred. I felt trapped in a form that wasn't mine, and yet every compliment, every tweak, stirred a strange, uncomfortable pride. By the end of the week, the daily reality had taken a toll. I couldn't ignore the curiosity creeping in alongside my fear. My reflection, once a reminder of loss, now held a hint of something intoxicating. Every step I took, every movement I made felt scrutinized, tested, and evaluated, not just by my sister but by the world that now saw me differently. One evening, I caught myself practicing expressions in the mirror, trying to understand this new persona. My sister stood silently in the doorway, a faint smirk on her lips. "See," she said softly. "You're learning. Soon you'll be perfect." Perfect. The word weighed heavy, both threatening and thrilling. And as I turned away, trying to shake off the strange mixture of embarrassment and fascination, I knew deep down that the real struggle was just beginning. My old life, the life I had known, was fading. Every interaction, every look, every whisper was reshaping me further, pushing me toward a new reality I wasn't sure I wanted, yet couldn't resist exploring. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I could ever go back. It started in the quiet of my room when the house was finally still. I locked the door behind me and stared at my reflection, this time without the panic or the prying eyes. Alone, I could finally see my body, my features, every curve my sister had meticulously shaped, shimmered under the soft glow of the lamp. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of curiosity that wasn't drowned in fear. I picked up a scarf from my drawer, one I'd never considered before, and draped it around my neck. The silk slid smoothly across my skin, and I caught the way my shoulders, my posture shifted instinctively. It was subtle but undeniably me, or at least a version of me I didn't recognize. My fingers traced my jawline and cheeks, marveling at the softness, the delicate contours. I couldn't stop myself from experimenting. Makeup was next. My sister had left a small kit in my room, neatly arranged. Lip gloss, blush, mascara. Each piece seemed innocuous, but in my hands, it became a tool of transformation. I hesitated before applying the blush, then felt an odd thrill as color bloomed on my cheeks. The mascara made my lashes sweep upward, framing my eyes in a way that made them feel larger, more alive. With every stroke, every dab, I felt both exposed and empowered. I experimented with my voice too. Whispering my own name, I noticed the way my tone softened, became melodic, almost teasing in its cadence. I laughed softly at the sound, startled by how natural it felt. My reflection seemed to smile back knowingly, as if acknowledging this new version of me. Even small gestures felt revolutionary. I practiced the tilt of my head, the curve of my wrist, the sway in my step as I moved around the room. Each motion made me feel lighter, more fluid, more feminine. And though a part of me wanted to resist, another part, inexplicably, thrilled in the novelty of it. I experimented with clothing next. Dresses, skirts, fitted tops I'd never imagined wearing. Sliding into them, I felt the fabric cling to the curves I hadn't known existed. I twirled in front of the mirror, testing the way the hem swirled around my legs, noting the subtle changes in my silhouette. My reflection, once a source of fear, now felt like a companion guiding me. The curiosity became addictive. I tried different hairstyles, experimenting with curls and braids, watching how each change altered not just my appearance but the way I carried myself. I spoke to the mirror, practicing introductions, conversations, even laughter. The reflection responded, or so it felt, as if encouraging me to embrace this version of myself. And then there were the moments I couldn't explain. Subtle excitement when I caught a glimpse of myself in a hallway mirror, or the rush of confidence when a piece of clothing fit perfectly. Fear and embarrassment mingled with a strange, intoxicating sense of liberation. I realized, almost shockingly, that I was beginning to enjoy aspects of this new identity, even if it terrified me to admit it. I kept a small journal, writing down observations, feelings, and questions I didn't dare voice aloud. How much of this was me? How much was my sister's design? Could I ever go back to the way I was before? Every entry revealed more than just thoughts. It revealed desires I hadn't known existed, a side of me waiting quietly beneath the surface, now coaxed into life. Days turned into nights of private exploration. I perfected subtle movements, experimented with different expressions, and tested the limits of my new voice. Each trial brought a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. Every reflection, every fabric, every stroke of makeup was a lesson, and slowly, painfully, I began to understand this new version of myself, not just as a creation of my sister but as a living, breathing part of me. The most dangerous moment came when I heard my sister outside my door. My heart jumped, panic threatening to undo everything I had discovered in solitude. But instead of hiding, I faced the mirror, held my posture, and allowed myself to be seen. Not as the old me, not as a victim, but as someone halfway between fear and fascination. Her knock was soft, teasing. "Enjoying yourself?" she asked, voice dripping with smug satisfaction. I took a deep breath, meeting my reflection head-on. "I'm learning," I admitted softly, my new voice surprisingly steady. The mirror reflected more than just my features. It reflected my curiosity, my tentative acceptance, my growing intrigue. And for the first time, I realized that while my sister had orchestrated this transformation, I was starting to own it in secret. The first time I stepped outside fully dressed in a skirt and blouse that hugged my new curves, my heart raced like never before. The sidewalk beneath my feet felt both ordinary and electric. People passed me without noticing at first, but then their eyes lingered, curious, impressed, and I felt it. A strange thrill mixed with raw anxiety. I caught my reflection in a shop window and paused. My posture, my hair, the subtle sway of my hips, it all worked together seamlessly. I whispered to myself almost in disbelief, "I can do this." The voice was soft, feminine, confident in a way I hadn't expected. Walking through the cafe, I noticed people stealing glances, some whispering, some smiling. I fumbled for a moment, my nerves flaring, but then I caught the rhythm of this new self moving through the world. It was intoxicating. A soft giggle escaped me when a stranger complimented my outfit. Normally, I would have shrugged it off, but now I felt seen, acknowledged, almost alive in a way I hadn't felt before. I experimented with conversations, testing my voice, my gestures, the tilt of my head. Each interaction was a tiny victory, a lesson in confidence and poise. Even the smallest compliment sent a thrill through me, proof that I could navigate this new persona in public without collapsing under embarrassment. Yet beneath the thrill, a shadow lingered. Every glance reminded me that this was a creation, that my sister's hand was behind the perfection I was learning to embrace. Could I truly call this me, or was I just a reflection of her envy and obsession? The question hovered, nagging at the edges of my excitement. By the evening, I found myself in a boutique, trying on outfits I never would have dared in the past. Dresses, skirts, even heels, each one reshaped my sense of self. I moved carefully in the mirror, experimenting with poses and expressions, catching glimpses of this evolving persona. I was terrified and exhilarated, embarrassed and empowered, all at once. And then, in the reflection, I noticed something unsettling, a figure watching me from the entrance. My sister. That familiar smirk. "You're getting good at this," she called softly, her eyes glinting with satisfaction. "Soon the world won't know the difference, and neither will you." My stomach twisted. I realized the experiment wasn't over, and the line between curiosity, empowerment, and manipulation had blurred completely. As I stepped closer to the mirror, testing a subtle sway of my hips, I felt it. The world outside, my sister's eyes, and my own reflection converging. The next choice, the next step, would decide everything.